if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Welcome to another episode of Talk'em Pod. Talk'em in the building, your favorite wrestling podcast. We don't do the reviews. We don't do the ratings. What we do is the promo. We talk about the talkers. We hype the hype man. And of course, we have to pontificate on the promo. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. And of course, I got to be joined by our co-hosts, my brothers. Greg, representing the red and black of Georgia. Go Dogs. Ali, you didn't get the memo? You were supposed to wear red and black, man.
I'm neutral, man. I'm neutral.
It's all good. It's all good, man. Shout out to UCLA and all those guys, you know. Greg, how are you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I can't believe what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Yeah. Out of lead, man, we have reached 1 year of Talk'em Pod. How are you feeling about that?
What a journey, man. Just thinking back, it flew by, and it's always just real enjoyable, just a great time. We've always said it, and just to collaborate with y'all and to really enjoy talking about this thing that we love, and specifically through the lens of the promo. So I'm really excited for tonight to celebrate, to look back, to reflect, and hopefully to think about the future. I think where we want the podcast to go.
Heck yeah. So listeners, once again, this is 1 full year of Talk'em in the building. So I want to first and foremost thank my co-hosts or my brothers here, Greg and Ali. Thank you guys for your dedication, your hard work, your creativity, and of course the conversations that we've had, because we've had some good ones. I also want to thank any of the listeners. If this was your first time checking us out, I want to thank you. But if you're a returning listener, I definitely want to thank you. And of course, please like, comment, subscribe to both Talk'em Pod as well as Suplex Dinner Club, because we're trying to grow and build a community. We don't have to agree on everything. That's not how community works. I want you to be able to push back on my opinion on something. I want these guys to challenge me, because the more we can challenge and invoke conversation, the absolute better we can be as fans of this wonderful thing called professional wrestling. Now, fellas, with it being 1 year, before we jump into this, because guys, y'all are going in blind. You don't know what the hell I have up my sleeve. Before we get into that, I just have a question for you guys. Greg, what was your favorite topic out of what we've went through?
Man, my favorite topic, the first one that jumps out actually is probably the Von Erichs.
Okay.
And I think the reason is because I was more exposed to them than y'all. So watching you guys' reaction to the Von Erich, seeing David as a face and as a heel, seeing Kerry kind of at world class, at Super Clash, and then in WWE, and the stark differences, and hearing you guys' feedback on how he was produced and different conversations that happened around that was fun. Because again, it was I felt like I was kind of introducing you guys to something different.
Definitely.
And that was a lot of fun for me.
Awesome. Ali, what was your favorite episode?
Funny enough, I started looking back at some of the old episodes we've done, and I have to say, it's still up there. It's that first episode we did.
Okay.
Because I think we've talked about our origin story, and for those of you that don't know, we all know each other obviously through pro wrestling and through live events and live shows. But to hear that backstory of how we all came into love, particularly the promo, and there's some recency bias, because even the one that I talked about, I just mentioned to a friend like this weekend, which was that whole that first episode of SmackDown that they aired like 4 or 5 months ahead of the show, ahead of the premiere, essentially.
Right.
And just pinpointing those moments that really reinvigorated us as fans, or really encapsulated our fandom and this thing that I'm pretty much going to like for the rest of my life, you know?
That's a fact. I like that. And shout out to Thunderbolt because that was my excuse to bring a Thunderbolt Patterson promo in there. My favorite episode still has to be the independent wrestling episode because we were introduced to guys that are up and coming and probably next up. And for me, it was my favorite because I got an excuse to introduce Murder One to the family here. And shout out to him because his promo ability and skills are hilarious to this day. He cuts promos in real life, y'all. It's not even just some wrestling stuff. You catch that man in the street, he'll cut a promo really quickly. So shout out to him. But those are good episodes. Listeners, be sure to check our back catalog. Those are some really good episodes, good quality content, good conversation, and of course, some great promos. All right, gentlemen, I didn't bring you cake. I don't have balloons. I apologize. But what I do have are a couple congrats, well wishes, and some great messages and promos from some of our loyal listeners. If you're a listener, if you're a subscriber, I always call you family. I always say support the pod fam because I truly do believe that we are a family, we are a community, and we have a couple of our loyal listeners. So let's go ahead and jump into this first. Congrats.
What's up, folks? This is your boy Gear Bear, and I want to take this time to give a special shout out to the Talk 'em in the Building podcast. I love you guys' podcast, and I want to wish y'all nothing but success heading into the year 2025. Now, I would love if y'all would be able to break down the epic showdown between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes that happened this year at the Georgia Tech Stadium. I think that was one of the most well-produced segments in WWE in recent years, and I would love if y'all would be able to break that down. Again, I love your podcast, and I wish y'all nothing but success. Gare Bear out.
Friend of the podcast, shout out to Gary.
Yeah.
Once again, he wants us to check out this Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes promo.
You see the ground you stand on? Everything you put your eyes on in here, it's mine. Years ago, I shed blood, sweat, and tears on this field. Many times. So that means this is my field. And if this is my field, that means this is my stadium. And if this is my stadium, you better believe this is my city. What have you done for my city?
Seven cars. Subtle. Your stadium. You know what's on the other side of the stadium? Right over there?
What's that?
Techwood Studios. Down the street. Center stage. Just that away. What we used to call the Omni. Now State Farm Arena. Multiple generations of my family have bled for the city and in the city. You played football here. Thank you. And then you went back to the beach. This is your field. But this is my home.
That's very good. This is your home. Why don't we just cut to the chase? Enough of the history lesson. Why don't we get down to the facts here? You signed yourself into a lose-lose situation. You have everything to lose. And you're dealing with a whole situation with people who have nothing to lose. Take me, for example. They took Jimmy from me. They took my wise man. They took my bloodline, and they took my Ulafala. I don't have anything to lose. For the first time in a long time, there's no weight on my neck. It's all on yours. I'm a man with no country now.
You're telling me this like I'm supposed to be surprised. I told you before WrestleMania, the first go round, that you would be standing here just like you're standing here now, a chief without a tribe. They took Jimmy. They took your wise man. They took the Ulafala. Really think you've got nothing to lose, though? Because I see that situation, and again, I will raise you another. Take a look around WWE. Take a good look. We already got a tribal chief. It's not you. And we have a WWE champion. It's not you. So if you can't even beat your own bloodline, who's standing here right now? I'll tell you, it's not the biggest box office attraction in the history of WWE. It's not that guaranteed WrestleMania main eventer, no. It's the guy they used to call Roman Reigns.
What do you want? Just tell me what you want.
What do I want? I want your word. I want your word that you will have my back so that I can have yours.
I give you my word. I'll have your back. But just understand this. When it's all done, I'm taking back what's mine.
It's not yours to take.
You're in my way. You're in my way in life.
Let's get into it. First, thank you, Gary, for the well wishes and, of course, suggesting this great promo. Now, let's get into it, fellas. Greg, you were in attendance for this pay-per-view. This was Bad Blood in Atlanta. Highly anticipated match. But let's talk about this promo. Let's talk about the segment. What was the highlight, in your opinion, of this segment?
The highlight to me was the mind game flip of Cody back on Roman and saying, right down there is Techwood Studios. Right down there is Center Stage. Right over there is the Omni. My family shed blood in this city, for this city. You went back to the beach. I'm like, and at that point, if you look, Roman switched it. And there's a message there, right? I know we're not going to unpack the whole thing. I'm not going to unpack it right this second. But that right there, when he went down that path, because you had to come back with something. You claim it's your field, your stadium, your city. Nah, this is Rhodes country, is basically what he just said to him.
Basically, Yeah. And I do like Cody telling him, you did your thing on the football field. Thank you. But but if you really want to talk about it, this is and anyway, Roman, everyone knows that Mark Rick owns that
Thank you.
football field. Go Dogs. Okay, Ali, this isn't a college football podcast. We're going to talk about wrestling and the promo. Let's talk about that segment. What stood out to you about that, man?
There's a lot. I mean, Cody touches on it in the beginning, but just the iconography, just the thematics of it. Him rolling up in a caravan of black, SUVs, whatever you want to call them, and then you got Cody rolling up in a white sports car. Right. So just if you didn't know who the good guy and bad guy was, let's be clear.
Yeah. Right.
But even so, and we've talked about this before, everything about Cody's promo for me is heelish. It's very, very heelish. If the roles were reversed, you would not question it.
Right.
It's Roman who has his back against the wall. It's Roman, in his words, is a man with no country. And that's the moment that sticks out to me, is he's got debt to rights. Yeah, he has the money and the fame and the glory, but he's not thinking about what happened. He's thinking about what's ahead.
Right.
And who's in his way to get ultimately what he wants. Maybe a momentary truce, but ultimately that's all it is. It's in the moment. Definitely. And he still has the prize that Roman is, in his eyes, is dutifully gonna get back.
Like Gary said, that's probably one of the most well done segments, promos that I've seen from WWE of this past year, and honestly in quite some time. And they normally knock it out the box when it's a big deal match. Like, they give you big fight feels, and in this promo segment, it gives you all big fight feels. And the cool part about it is these are just two of the players in that match. It's not even everyone. It's not even everyone. I love the visuals of it. Of course, I'm a glutton for anything shot very well, especially on the pro wrestling level. If you can do something cinematic and it looks good, I'm gonna fully endorse it. And that was shot beautifully. I don't know if they use different cameras or something, but that thing was next level to me. Like, I don't know if you're gonna go as far as saying that's a major motion picture quality thing, but maybe a Sunday night NBC movie or something. But damn it looked like a movie. It looked like a movie to me. Yeah. What were your thoughts going into that match with both of these players?
So, first off, let me go back to one other thing. Watching this promo, while we talked about what just stood out, and I totally agree what we talked about before. Cody's the villain. Cody's Joker. Cody's Thanos. Cody's, psychologically, like the way he did stuff. But it started in the very beginning, and here's the subtlety that I think was missed. Roman came in very professional, very respectful, very formal. He went to the 50-yard line. He holds that place in reverence. He holds this place as his home. He went to the 50. He walked out. He looked at the logo. He showed respect. Cody comes in the side, parks on the field, gets out that car, and just walks right across. There's no formality. It's like, whatever, man. I do what I want to do. I can just walk out here. It's kind of that equivalent where don't step on the logo, don't walk across that carpet, don't you have certain locker rooms where you don't walk across that logo. He's like, whatever, walk right across everything, and that right there set the tone for me. I mean, even though what stood out, which your earlier question was how he retorted, it was that setup right there. It was like in the mind already. That villain is Cody's playing mind games. And he's
like
flipped
that.
it. Where Roman has played mind games for all this time. Think about what he did to Jay, what he did to Jimmy, what he did to Sammy. Playing all these mind games, Cody flipped it.
Yep.
Starting from the beginning. But to answer the question about going into that match, honestly, I was expecting the Oli turn. I was expecting go back to oddly. This is funny how this kind of comes full circle. We talked about our first episode. And I brought that Ole Anderson promo from when he turned on Dusty and the whole manipulation behind it, a whole year feud. I was expecting it from Roman to turn on Cody and to have that bloodline say, you know what, we've been planning this the whole time and just go after him. I wasn't sure if it would happen or not. It's still open. It's still out there. You just don't know. Or it could go vice versa. There's a part of me that thought Cody may be the one in control. Because go back long-term storytelling, I'm going to take everything from you. He just said it in that promo. I took everything from you.
Yeah.
What if he was the one behind the new bloodline? What if that was in the back of my head? What if he was the one who said, all right, get rid of Jimmy, Solo, we're gonna make you the tribal chief, but I'm the real boss. I mean,
that'd be crazy. Yeah,
that's what I was honestly. I didn't know what to expect. Like I truly didn't know what to expect coming into that, and that's what was lovely about it is you didn't know. So often over the past 20 years, 95% of the time, you know.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
That one, I wasn't sure.
Especially if you've watched wrestling as long as all of us have. Like, normally storylines get regurgitated or flipped in some manner.
For sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Nah, but yeah, I agree, man. I definitely agree there. But that was a great segment. Definitely one of the best segments that company has had in the past couple years. It brought the big fight feel, and I think they did deliver for the most part with that storyline. You know, those are two of the biggest stars in that company, and they're doing their thing going into Survivor Series. Yep. Okay, next guest, our next well wishes. It's coming from a longtime listener, longtime friend, great guy, and here's his message.
Adelaide, Greg, Adrian, the Talk 'em in the Building pod family, in my opinion, one of the finest podcasts in all of the land. Congratulations on a year of success and hopefully many more. Today, I present to you from Turning Point 2007, one of the most underrated talkers, in my opinion, Samoa Joe going scorched earth on Scott Hall, who no-showed, and you could tell Big Kev is not feeling it. Congrats, guys, again on a year, and hope for many more.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Backstage, I was told to come out here, and they said, Joe, the fans love you, and if there's one thing they trust, it's you. And we want you to go out there, and we want you to tell these people something that'll make them satisfied with the fact that Scott Hall no-showed this event tonight. You know, I would love to tell you people that he'd be coming down that ramp a little bit later on, but the fact of the matter is he punked out on me, and he punked out on every single fan in this building tonight.
Wow. Strong words.
He will too. Kevin will too. Yep, that's true. And then it got me thinking. I was back there and I said, well, you know what? I could walk out there. I could go 2-on-3 with Kevin and make the best of it. But you know what? I also realized another thing. They just gave me a live mic on pay-per-view.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
So, if you all don't mind, I'd like to get a few things off my chest. Number one, in TNA, we have two types of wrestlers. We have TNA diehards who come here and entertain and bust their ass with these fans every night of the week.
Oh, he's passionate. Frustrated, too.
And we got superstars who think they can come and do whatever they want, however they feel like. We have superstars who come out here and not only screw us, the hardworking wrestlers of TNA, but they screw each and every fan who paid to see them, no matter how old they are. So let me make this real simple. Let me explain to you what TNA is. TNA is the Motor City Machine Guns coming down here and busting their ass and trying to make a break in this business. TNA is Black Machismo doing his damnedest to entertain every single fan in this building and show them what's up. TNA is Samoa Joe coming in here and doing what he does best, wrestle and be the best damn professional wrestler in the world. TNA is a bunch of hard-working young athletes who are looking to change the wrestling world. Guys who held down this business while others profiteered from it. TNA is the men who come in here, risk their lives on scaffoldings, on wires, while others show up and pad their pensions. So I'll tell you what, Scott Hall, Chico, kiss my ass. You punked out and you're a punk. Are you mad? No, go ahead, fire me, I don't care. So tonight, I went in that locker room and they said, hey, they called everybody in the world trying to get me a new partner. But I said, no, we don't need anybody. We got everybody we need in the back right now. So I walked to the back and I said, hey, who wants to go out there in the main event tonight and who wants to get into a fight? And every damn one of the X Division wrestlers stood up. I walked to the back and I said, who wants to come out and get in a fight in the main event tonight? And every single young wrestler whose first TV contract was here at TNA stood up and said me. But one in particular, bloody, beaten, battered, bruised, and overlooked by everybody in the world, looked at me and said, Joe, please give me the shot. And without further ado, I announce my partner, a man who will show up, a man who will be here and do what he needs to do, a man who's ready for a fight, and a man who will be even when he's an old man. Without further ado, I bring out my tag team partner, Showtime Eric Young. Get out here, let's kick some ass.
All right, so thanks to Sean for the well wishes.
Yeah.
Also, thank you for this promo. My first time actually seeing that because I didn't watch TNA around that time, surprisingly. Now, Ali, there's clear-cut division being set up here. Young, old. I want to know your opinion. Were you watching TNA at this time? And how familiar were you with this conflict? It seems to be a growing conflict, and it kind of bubbled over.
Right. And again, shout out to Sean. This is a real good one. And always love to see Joe on the mic and a younger Joe, right? A very different Joe who's, coming off real great runs in ROH and is an established star, at this point. This is not a young guy or a new guy by any sense of the imagination. And everybody he lists off fits the mark, right? Are people that we're still talking about today. I mean, 17 years later, the Motor City Machine Guns are finally getting a shot in NXT, right? Because if we look at it, Hunter, right, Triple H, he essentially took all the TNA talent. If they're not on camera, they're backstage, right? Abyss is a producer.
In some form or fashion.
It's basically everybody who's backstage, even down to like the level of production we were just talking about in the last segment. It's just interesting to see it lay out because so much of the time we were, as fans, I was familiar with it. And I can't say like you, I wasn't watching it religiously, but I had an awareness of it.
Gotcha.
And I knew, okay, so here's Nash, here's Hall, here's these young guys, AJ Styles, obviously tremendous talent, Angle coming off into this space, basically into this opportunity. But what strikes me the most is, were they just trying things, or did you really go off the cuff? And I don't have context for that. I'm sure there's an answer, but as a fan, just looking at this as a purely just having this as context, it's riveting, right? Because it makes me think, are they really upset? And that's the best thing, right? When you question the reality, when you question in the best possible way, right? You take a really bad situation, which this was a real situation, and you build on it, and you elevate the rest of your locker room, essentially, down to the fact that he brings out Eric Young, who's a tremendous talent that unfortunately was never given his due or given a proper opportunity later on, except maybe just TNA. But what strikes me the most is, at no moment, if this was really the way the division, or the way, if I remember, Nash might have been Booker at the time, or had some level of power backstage, because the X Division was still something that he had a hand in and stuff. But the fact that he's just naming and naming and naming and naming, and Nash is just taking it. Nash is almost not emotionless, but he's not happy about it. He's not taking
he's
the
clearly
mic.
pissed. Like,
And
you could tell.
who does he talk to? Like, did you catch that moment where he's like, "What do you do? Fire me?
You're gonna fire me?
I don't care."
Right.
Like, is he talking to a producer? Is he talking to? I don't know who he's talking to.
Greg,
Does he
do
carry
you
an
know?
angle, like whisper something to Kurt, and it's something like they're not expecting any of this. Makes me want to watch, even if it was born out of a real tough situation. But again, it just, for me, it just reinforces this idea that Joe could have been the face of any company. I mean, he just never got his due, and for me, it's what could have been, what TNA could have been, with proper leadership and not so many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. And I think that encapsulate what the sentiment that a lot of people had at the time, to be honest.
Now, notice how many times Joe said old. He continued to say old. He said collecting on his pension. Like, all of these terms that are coded, like, this dude is washed. He shouldn't be here. We're where the focus should be, but these guys are making the money and they're ruining things. Clearly, they don't care enough. Like, that's clearly the narrative being set here. But Greg, how familiar were you with TNA at this time? And what were your thoughts about, as soon as he said old, the camera just panned right into Nash's face?
Well, so here's one thing I'll say about promos in general, and I would imagine your boy Murder Run One, if you ever reach out to him, will say the same thing. You don't use the term old, and here's why. Because what you end up doing, let's use Samoa Joe. He starts talking about the old guys and the pensions, and then he gets booked in a match and gets his ass beat by Kevin Nash. Now he just took himself. He just worked himself down. Ain't got nothing to do with Kevin. He just said, I lost to an old man. And you guys, I'm the voice. Let's just in this situation, because there was some backstage stuff that I'll get to in a second that happened after that promo, if you don't know. But let's say that gets out there to the casual fan. They're like, I love Samoa Joe. I'm rallying behind Samoa Joe. And he's, oh yeah, I'm right. You're right. This guy should be here getting his pension. And then you got beat up by him. So that's why you always have to be careful when you call these veterans old. Like, even, Ricky Starks danced that line with Edge and different others. Use other terminology to where you don't call them old, because you don't want to come out of this looking worse. And keep in mind, you're getting a rub from this dude. At the end of the day, you're getting a rub from a former WCW World Champion, WWE World Champion, NWO original member, all that kind of stuff. You got to keep that in your mind. And I think that's where Joe went the wrong direction. I don't have an issue with him calling out Scott, but you can tell. I mean, let's be honest. You gotta use your brain, and this is something I feel like Samoa Joe didn't think about. I'm standing out here with Scott's best friend in the world,
right?
So I might need to make sure we're good, because if you don't know after this, if you hear, I've heard 3 sides of this story. Probably within the last year, I've heard Nash's side, I've
Okay.
heard Samoa Joe's side, and I heard Jeff Jarrett's side.
Mm.
Nash says they went backstage and he slapped the shit out of him,
What?
and that he
Seriously?
slapped, that he
What?
basically bitch slapped him. He said I open hand slapped him. He said, but after that we were friends before, we were friends after, but basically that. Samoa Joe doesn't really address that part too much in the one I heard, but he did say the next day at TV he came and apologized to everybody.
Mm.
And Jeff Jarrett said he didn't have to do that, but he did it because he realized what he had done and that he had actually kind of segregated the locker room.
Yeah.
And so
Kind of sounds like it.
yeah.
At least through that promo. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting to hear those 3 sides. Jeff told it. I don't know how all these things kind of came together, but I happened to hear them on 3 different things. But
Wow.
and I had heard that way back in the day that there was a huge altercation afterwards. That Nash was not
man.
happy, and Nash didn't care what he said about him. It was more about what he did with Scott.
Mm.
He doesn't fully. I mean, he touches on Scott just in the moment, right?
But you got to put yourself in Nash's shoes. You put
Oh, no,
yourself
yeah,
in Nash's shoes,
absolutely.
and you're this is my brother. This is my I'm
Yeah.
emotionally tied to him. He's
It's my
going through a
guy.
lot. He's got
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
Right.
demons and all this other stuff, so he's not here. Not saying you shouldn't address it, but was that the right way to address it? I don't know.
Yeah.
When I watched it back then, because I remember it happening. I don't know if I saw it live or not. I can't remember that, but I didn't have an issue with it, right? Because I was that person. Yeah, you're right. All these dudes are coming in and they're invading our TNA. And then you start going, now I look back at it and go, dude, it just wasn't good business.
Mm.
What benefit did it do? Who did it elevate?
Right. Right.
It elevated nobody. It brought out Eric Young into a match that arguably he shouldn't have been in at the time,
Yeah.
right? And is it Samoa Joe that's going to elevate him? Let's call it what it is. If Kevin Nash is the one that picks Eric Young, he automatically elevates.
Mm.
If Samoa Joe at that time, we all had to put it in context. In 2007,
Yeah.
you're looking across the 2 biggest stars in that promo were Kurt Angle and Kevin Nash.
Right.
True.
So if Kevin Nash is the one that brings out Eric Young, he elevates him immediately. Samoa Joe elevates him a little bit. Kevin Nash elevates him dramatically.
Mm.
So I think when you go back and think about it and look at it from a business standpoint, it wasn't a good business
Right.
promo. It was one that would be a typical ECW arena promo. It's going to
Okay.
elevate me to my core audience that's here in the 2300 arena every single
That's
week,
about it.
but it's not going to elevate me on Spike TV.
Mm.
And so what happened there? He actually, if you listen to the crowd, they start to turn. There's little pieces they start turning on Nash. Why? You're not your goal is not to turn on Nash's. You kind of went into business for yourself and you cut a promo for that group. You didn't cut a promo for that group, the one in the camera.
Right.
And that's to me why I don't like that promo.
That's a good analysis of it. I am I alone in saying that you kind of feel the same way after watching that promo with that compare that to that Hangman Punk promo, like how it was like the clear-cut division, you're trying to steal a spot, you're pretty much screwing a lot of the younger day one talent. Do you get that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, unless you're going to make that part of the storyline,
right,
there's no purpose.
right.
Go back to
right.
WCW when we had the
That's the
millionaire.
key, yeah.
Back in the
That's
WCW, we had
more
the
so.
Millionaires Club
Right.
and the New Breed. It made sense. If
Yeah.
you're not going to tie that into some type of story, what's the point?
And I think you clarifying that piece of the context and the aftermath, which is interesting that it almost took
that's
20
wild.
years for it to
Jesus.
come out, the truth at least. Yeah, I can see the parallels. If y'all are in on, shooting, so to speak, great. Then there's a path. But if there isn't, that's going to die in the ring. That's it. There's nowhere for it to grow or to lead to. At least not organically.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, first time checking that one out. Thank you, Sean, for that. Last wishes, last of our celebratory lap per se, gentlemen, of 1 year of Talking Pod is a longtime listener, but even before then, Greg, this is one of our WrestleMania travel buddies that wanted to take a little time from his productive Twitch personality to spend a little time with us.
What's up, everyone? It's Favorite Blackout Internet here. Mav, host of Digital Clubhouse TV, and I just want to thank the guys at Talking Pod for coming out every other week to give us wonderful, wonderful topics on all things wrestling, whether it be promos, news, anything that's really, really cool. But I want to say thank you and congratulations for an entire year. Happy anniversary, guys. Now, I was also asked to give a promo for what I would like for you guys to talk about. And my choice is the WrestleMania 30 legacy promo that was between John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Everything leading up to that. Have fun, guys. And once again, happy anniversary, and can't wait to see you guys go through this again for another year.
This is what I believe in. You work hard, you show up on time, you stay loyal to those who support you, you respect friends and enemies. That's my stance. Here I am, having worked day in and day out for 12 years now, trying to build this. That's what I want as my legacy. And a guy like Bray, he just wants to destroy everything I've worked my life to build.
You're heroes, children. They fight only for their own selfish vanity and greed. Hey, kids, all praise be to the virtue of hustle, loyalty, and respect. And who am I to say that? What am I?
I used to be the type of kid that would always think the sky is falling. Why am I so differently wired? Am I a Martian? What kind of twisted experiment am I involved in? Cause I don't belong in this world. That's why I'm scoffing at authority, defiant often.
John Cena, you remind me of one of those thoroughbred horses. And he races, and he wins. And he wins, and the people, they just cheer for him. Just remember, you are the one with everything to lose. Your time is up. Can't you hear her calling your name?
And if you fall, I'll get you there. I'll be your savior from all the wars that are fought.
I am afraid of Bray Wyatt, but I believe. I believe in everything I've done, everything I stand for, and everything I will do. At WrestleMania, I will fight for my legacy.
This is my legacy. There's no guarantee, it's not up to me. You can only see. This is my legacy.
I got your fear, John. And your fear is my power.
I used to be the type of kid that would always think the sky is falling. Why am I so differently wired? Am I noggin? Cause sporadic as my thoughts come, it's mind-boggling. Cause I obsess on everything.
I have broken you, John. I have broken you!
But if this is all there is for me, light offers, why bother even trying to put up a fight? It's nonsense, but I think a light bulb just lit up in my conscience.
Hope is dead, as will be your legacy. Who will be left for you, John? I take it all away.
This is my legacy. There's no guarantee, it's not up to me. You can only see. This is my legacy.
Fear me.
Greg, you were in New Orleans that year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So was I. So I just checked back because I'm gonna be completely honest, guys. I was pulling for Bray in this match. I wanted him to win, and that will probably be the first WrestleMania match where I was actually like really upset that the wrong guy won, in my opinion. Although they made up for it the very next match with with Brock and Taker. So I will say that was my initial feeling when I saw that. I still remember the music, and I remember being hyped for it because we've talked about Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family multiple episodes in the past, how unique they were, how interesting they were, and how locked in a lot of us were with those guys. So, out of the lead, man, I want to know your initial feelings and emotions being evoked once you saw that promo.
I mean, it's exactly what you said. It almost gets lost on such a stacked night, right?
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like it's almost second. It took me a second to realize, oh yeah, that was the same night as Brian and Taker and Brock and these crazy. Remember watching it live. And it almost felt like a break, like a breather in some ways to some people. But to that effect, I can't say I had strong feelings kind of after the fact, just because like once we knew the result and the ending, I was like, okay, well that was that program. There's not going to be a follow up. Little did we know they'd end up doing the cinematic match during the pandemic, and which is brilliant and almost a nice kind of bookend to this promo almost of sorts. This idea of legacy and maintaining a legacy and what could have been later for John. It really makes me want to have seen more of this iteration of Bray Wyatt's character.
Definitely.
I loved all those NXT promos. I loved initially what they were doing on the main roster when they brought him as that cohesive unit. And it almost seemed like Cena was just this unstoppable force that it's really it's almost like this promo creates this sense of, I guess, parity between Bray Wyatt and John Cena, because here's Bray Wyatt, who's not that far removed from being in NXT, more or less, right? And he's been in, pretty significant feuds, but here you are, you're putting him with Cena, who is the tried and true face of the company, and they're still working on Roman. They're not there yet. And here he is. It's a big spot, but solely focusing on the promo. I really thought, we talked about the Roman Reigns Cody promo, but this is also just great editing because there's so many elements where, those of us that came up in the Attitude Era, you'll just go back to the My Way promo, the Rock and Austin promo.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. It's not quite that, but I get that feeling. It was like, wow, the editing team really took every possible clip to really time it and get it across. That this wasn't a blood feud, but it was one that at least made you want to keep some interest in. And if we were talking about keeping an interest throughout, it's a really stacked night. It certainly did that. And man, again, Cena's going to be Cena, but man, those Bray Wyatt promos were something else. And again, he just comes through, right? If I ever had to sit down a non-wrestling fan around that time, they go like, "Let this guy. You're a horror fan. You're into kind of that stuff. Just look at this guy talk." And I would never get any kind of pushback. Like, "Oh, this guy looks real. This guy's scary.
Definitely.
He's murderous."
Right. Nah, man. Greg, let's talk about John Cena, man, because I know a large portion of wrestling fans, IWC, wrestling Twitter, whatever you want to say, around that time, John Cena was probably one of the most hated people within pro wrestling. Now, I will cut him slack because that SummerSlam prior to this Mania, he put Daniel Bryan over and put him over in a major way. So that kind of shut me up prior to this WrestleMania, but there was still that strong contingency of let's go Cena sucks. That was a thing. That was a thing. But you knowing you've always been pretty much a fan of John Cena. You've always had an appreciation for the guy.
So I think at that point, I was like you. I felt like Bray needed that.
Yes.
John did not. I felt like Cena had so much. He was in that position where the belt didn't matter. Wins and losses didn't matter. Look at him now. He hadn't won in how many years? It doesn't matter. And he hit a certain level of stardom that it didn't matter. And so I think that's where I was the most disappointed. And I don't think it's his fault. I think it was a Vince situation.
Mm-hmm.
In Vince book the way Vince, and you know what? I'm not gonna just blame him. You gotta go back years. That's the way that territory was always booked around the strong, good guy, Bruno, all the way up, right?
Right.
Hogan, even Shawn and Brett. I mean, for the most part, good guy, good guy, good guy. Even going to Stone Cold, all that. Do you really liked having that good guy champion and stuff, or head face of the company?
Right.
So Cena was that person, and I think at this point Cena had gotten stale, really stale, and he wasn't evolving. I think that was to me the biggest knock on him. You look at the greatest characters of all time. To me, the two greatest, and I'm gonna say 1A, 1B. I'm not gonna put 1 and 2. That's a different argument for another day. Is Undertaker and Kane, and they evolved, both of them. Now they may revert back to that old school, but when they reverted back, they still had that new tool set.
Okay.
John never evolved.
Right.
His only evolution was from Dr. Thugonomics to hustle, loyalty, respect.
Fruity Pebbles.
And yeah, basically. And so he became real stale. So to me, what you didn't ask this though, but I'm gonna unpack that promo a little bit. He needed this more than Bray.
Okay.
Bray needed the win. John needed the feud.
Okay.
So I went back as y'all were playing this. I went back and looked, and I was like, I think I'm right. I wasn't sure about the number. So this was John's 11th WrestleMania.
Wow.
10 of which before this one were for a title.
Wow. So
Either
this
United
was his
States,
first wrestle.
second.
Okay.
So he had The Rock. You got to think about the first one was The Rock. Him and The Rock, part one
True.
was about that. So there's a story there, but this is the first time that he's been in a story on the biggest show of the year that did not involve a title. And who's the one that makes it about something but Bray? And what does he make it about? Your legacy. It's not about a title. It's not about I'm a better movie star than you or passing the torch or any of that kind of stuff like The Rock. This was about a legacy. And then as I'm watching this promo, because I didn't really remember it, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm like, man, he made this mean something. And to me, this may have brought more out of Cena than we think. Because you fast forward a few years, Cena with Solo, Cena with Theory, Cena with others, even Roman. It wasn't always about the title anymore. It was about something else. What am I fighting for, or what are you fighting for? And so that promo to me kind of took me into a different spot of, wow, they made this match for Cena about something different than the title for really, and then take out the Rock one, really for the first time in his career at Mania.
That's a great point, man. I didn't even really think about that. Like, that's crazy. Out of all those WrestleManias, this is just this is legit the second one where he's not going for a title. Like that's a wild point. Yeah. But man, that was a crazy WrestleMania. And I mean, anytime you can go to New Orleans is a great time. So I remember loving that trip, and that was technically the first one that kicked off me going to WrestleMania all those times in a row.
I was about to say, yeah, we went together, but we didn't. It was
not that one.
Was not that
not
one.
that one. Yeah. And then after that, it was after Dallas, because we met in Dallas for 32. So yeah. Nah, man. Shout out to Byron. Speaking of WrestleMania, Greg, let's quickly talk about like us traveling for WrestleMania. We met Byron at a hotel in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. Just casual, like Greg and I, if you guys don't personally know us, we're pretty extroverted. Like we're gonna definitely we're gonna say something to you. Like if you look like a cool person, I'm gonna say something to you and not think anything of it. If you tell me to piss off, I'm like, whatever, and then I'll go talk to somebody else because
Exactly.
that's just my personality, and I can say that's the same thing for Greg for the most part. But when it came to meeting Byron, we were at the hotel and we were just walking and we saw him. We just started talking to him, and we were just, oh, you're from here, we're from here, and just that connection to the point where, if I'm not mistaken, Greg, we wound up like meeting at another show or something, or going to IHOP like late at
Oh yeah.
night. Do you remember that IHOP?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, sir. That
Late
was
at
after
night.
Mania because we had an early flight for some ungodly known reason.
Oh
So
God. Oh
we went to
man.
that IHOP with the worst service in the history of man.
I felt so bad for those IHOP employees. They
It was
were
just packed.
Dude, they were so unprepared. Like they were so oblivious that it was WrestleMania.
Right.
And I want to say it was like two or three servers for a big ass IHOP, and maybe like two employees cooking, one of which was the manager. Like I felt so bad. Like I was like, I can't even order any food
staff
because
thinking, yeah, I get you.
it was awful, man. It was awful. But it's trips like that, like the WrestleMania trip. That was always what I used to.
Yep.
My employees used to always say that was Adrian's pilgrimage. Like
For sure.
that
Let me
was
throw
my
this in here.
reset
So
point. That was my reset point, man.
here's the cool thing, right? Is we meet in Dallas.
Mhm.
I got my buddy Randy with me. The following year, Adrian and I go to Orlando.
Yep.
We meet Byron. The following year is when we go to New York all together, right? Or is that New Orleans?
I want to say 32, 33. I want to say the next one was New Orleans.
Maybe New Orleans because I didn't go to New Orleans because my son
Right.
had the national championship, and so.
But with you saying that, that was me, Randy, and
And
Byron. Yeah.
Yep. And then the next year,
Then next
with
year
New
was
York,
New York.
was all four of us. So
Right.
it's just kind of cool that we, and then we just all kind of meet in Dallas, meet in Orlando, and then we start traveling together. So that's just kind of
man.
cool.
Yeah. And then going to the West Coast for me was an awesome trip for Long Beach because that's where I met my guy out of Lead at a taco stand. And once again, us just talking. Like I don't think
I'm pretty
Ali's
introverted too. I don't just talk to people.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. I don't think Ali is as extroverted, but I definitely if you look cool, man, if you don't look like you'll kill me, I'm gonna have a conversation with you.
I did not look like this, by the way. If y'all listening on YouTube, I was like very clean cut at the time.
Yeah.
Way more approachable than probably look
like. For sure. Nah, man. We definitely have fun, and I definitely encourage any listeners, if you've never traveled for a wrestling show, I would definitely suggest traveling for WrestleMania. If you can afford it, I know if you look at those prices, they're ridiculous, y'all.
Yeah.
But I will be honest, you can travel there and not go to WrestleMania and still have an absolute blast. There's plenty of independent shows, smaller, more affordable shows, and just to be in the area around so many other wrestling fans, international fans, is definitely quite the experience. So if you've never done it before, highly encourage. I'm not encouraging you to spend way too much money to go to a WrestleMania. If you can't afford it, I understand. We all understand. But if you can make it to that city and just get a hotel room and then find your way to a WrestleCon or find your way to one of those indie shows, I guarantee you'll find your podcast co-host. I guarantee.
Probably, yeah.
It's not even about the Mania itself.
Right.
It's just not. It's about like it's me going into the gym and working out with Kazarian. Not on purpose.
Right.
It's like I'm going in there and I'm like, oh yeah, all right. It's going to the bar and you got Jesse Ventura over here and David Arquette over here and SCU over here.
Right.
It's sitting down and eating lunch and there's Ron Simmons sitting right here, and Brutus Beefcake sitting right next to me, and I forgot who DDP sits down. I'm like, this is weird.
That's
It's
crazy.
watching the Iron
Yeah.
Sheik go to breakfast. It's being around so many people, no matter where you sit. We're all nerds for something. Everybody. We can be nerds for college football, nerds for Major League Baseball, nerds for whatever. We're nerds for wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our people there. And you're not going to connect with every single person, but the fact that I can sit down and just have a conversation about wrestling.
Yeah.
And you don't get judged. Nobody's looking. They're all here having fun.
Right.
It doesn't matter what shirt you have on. Man, you know, we were in different places. You weren't there for this one. I was in Tampa. Now, I've rocked Roman Reigns from day one, and I catch so much crap for that. And I loved it. I loved it no matter where I went. Roman, yeah. And so you get that banter back and forth. They're like, really? And I'm riding the WrestleCon bus, so I'm with the IWC 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm the only dude on the whole bus with a Roman Reigns shirt. And they're like, really? And we're just, it's just so much fun to give that banter back and forth and just to be around those people. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you go to Mania.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, y'all. If you don't go to the show, so what? Guess what? The bar's showing it. There's going to be people, mad folks watching this show together.
Yep.
I mean, going to Dallas is before I had met Adrian. We're in, same show, but I remember being in the hotel lobby. WWE Network had just launched like the year before, maybe, and we were watching NXT. Randy and I watching NXT on the TV in the hotel lobby. We say, hey, can we tap into that? They're like, yeah, go ahead. We tap into it. All of a sudden, we got 10 people sitting around watching this thing with us.
That's right.
And it's just like just random folks, and it's just like it's just fun.
That's all it takes,
man.
And once people get it, they get it. There's like, there's no you find your tribe, so to speak, like you said.
Oh yeah, for
sure. You're in line. I mean, last time they were here, I went to an ROH show. I went to a GCW show, and it was just like I was running into the same people. By the way, like, oh hey, what's up? And we just small talk, and didn't get into one of the GCW shows, and turned the corner. There's Vikingo hanging out, waiting for his match in the alley. I'm like, hey, brother, get a shot here. Never saw him wrestle that night, but had to hang out with him for a couple minutes. But it's that kind of like serendipitous stuff. You're right. That happens just because you're in the ether. You're there. You're around it. You're gonna run to someone at the grocery store probably.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. I love it. I love that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But fellas, man, that was our celebration. Thank you guys that sent well wishes and your promos. They were great choices. Thank you all. Thank you again very much for taking out a quick moment just to even do that for us. But fellas, before we head out, I want to go to you first, Adelaide, man. Do you have anything to say to the listeners before we head out?
I'll just gonna be real direct and real from the heart here, but this is something that I've been wanting to do for a real long time. I just never had the avenue. I think I thought about maybe doing that on my own, and like you were saying this, me being somewhat introverted about like how I get myself out there, the world and just in life. This is one of those things where it hits the extroversion, I guess, for me.
Definitely.
Where I can talk for days about wrestling. I mean, I'll talk in line if somebody knows me, that they know I'm the wrestling person, they can ask me anything about it, and I'll talk you to your done with me essentially. But to do it with y'all, to do it with Greg, to do it with Adrian, and really building this community and knowing that there's others listening in makes me want to come back and do it. Makes me want to just grow. And first and foremost, thank you to the listeners for sticking with us. And I think what you can value the most, what feedback that I get, is just the conversations, right? Just this back and forth we have with each other, and just these different perspectives, right? And we all have very different upbringings and the way that we interact with wrestling and the way that we interact to this day. Some of these conversations we have before even the pod, where we're starting the show before we hit record. Sometimes you have to remember to like, all right, let's keep this for the show, or after the show for that matter. So for me, it's been a real thrill. It's been an honor to keep doing this with you guys, and I hope that we just keep growing and persevering, so that this passion of ours is something that we're not just sharing amongst each other, but that we're growing with others. And hope y'all that are listening and watching are along for the ride, and just continue giving us that feedback. What do you want to see? Today was a great kind of example of it, to hear what we want to see. So
Awesome.
thank you, listeners, and thank you, Greg, for bringing all your history and your perspective and your thoughtfulness. Because a lot of the times I'm like, I would have not thought of that. That's like amazing, though. Just the way that you think of the angle on certain things, and Adrian also for just bringing this opportunity here with us with the network, and extending this as another piece, which I know you're trying to grow something bigger with Suplex Dinner Club as well.
For sure, man. Thank you. Greg, man, any words for the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, one big thing is just it's humbling that we have listeners. To be honest with you,
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it's humbling. This show right here is just humbling. Having all three of them kind of have some nice words for us, bringing us promos to talk about, and making it interactive. We enjoy this, right? But we don't always know that others do.
Right.
and so it's humbling that people have stuck around with us for a year. And I'll be honest with you, I'm proud of us that we've stuck around for a year.
Heck yeah, man.
So many people have been on podcasts and other things and just start stuff and they don't keep up with it. And we've been able to do it. I just pray that we can keep going, doing these things. But also, I love the fact that we bring different perspectives. Kind of oddly, you touched on, my view is different than some of y'all's, and we come at it from different angles and different life experiences and different pieces of our fandom. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, where we started our fandom, what promotions we like, and that's what I think makes this fun. Is that we're not just sitting back going, oh yeah, that's right. It's we may not always disagree, but we have different opinions or different views and such. And I love that. I love our banter. I love our conversations, even before the show, after the show, during the show.
Right.
And what hooked me selfishly is the promo. Growing up in watching studio wrestling, watching from Techwood Drive, and watching it from Center Stage, and the old WWF ones with the superimposed stuff logos in the background, the green screens, and that's what I watched. That's what I watched for. I watched for that and the finishing moves. That was it. I didn't care about nothing else.
Yep.
And now to be able to sit here and talk about those promos is so rewarding to me. So thank you guys for the opportunity and for inviting me to be a part of this team.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I think we're growing as a team, and once again, I definitely appreciate both of you guys for your hard work, dedication, and definitely your creativity that you bring to the podcast. So that's to you guys. But to the listeners, thank you all again. Thank you for your support. We're at 1 year. We're going to get to year 2, y'all, and we got some big plans for this upcoming year. So if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe as always to Talk'em Pod on your socials, and of course Suplex Dinner Club. But I'm Adrian, that's Greg, that's Out of Lead, and we are Talk'em in the Building podcast. Once again, your favorite wrestling podcast. We don't do the reviews, we don't do the ratings. We leave that to all you guys out there. We talk about the promo. We talk about the talkers. We hype the hype man. Of course, we pontificate on the promo. Y'all have a wonderful holiday. Shout out to the listeners. And we're out, y'all. Peace.